Good morning on Friday, 12th week of Ordinary Time, also the memorial of St. Irenaeus, bishop and martyr. Today we will look at really the conclusion of 2 Kings 25. We were supposed to have a reading tomorrow, but tomorrow will be the solemnity of St. Peter and Paul, so we'll have special readings and a special sermon for that one. So, a lot can be said. Um, in the reading, we see that Zedekiah is the current leader of Judah. He was actually appointed by the Babylonians, who will eventually come in and demolish the whole city. Um, they're right now working. That is, the Babylonians are working on see really destroying the walls of Jerusalem. So I guess the one way to capture the city is you have to eliminate their last line of defense. So literally what they're doing right now is they're kind of encamped outside of the city walls and not allowing any sort of commerce to enter. And so we're told a couple lines into the first reading that a famine had griped the city. Well, again, it's probably because the Babylonians are preventing any food from entering into the city. So it takes about maybe a year and a half for them to finally kind of run out of food. And that's when the king and his soldiers leave the city by night. So again, there must be multiple ways of exiting the city, but they're eventually tracked down by the Babylonians. Um, King Zedekiah is captured. He watches his sons be executed, and then he has his eyes plucked out, and then he's exiled to Babylon. So literally the last thing that he sees is the execution of his sons. The Babylonians were pretty fierce. They were they definitely were some nasty, at least had some nasty practices against their enemies. But so again, the reading ends on a somber note. Really, the poor in Judah, the poor are left behind. Everyone else is exiled, which means the poor kind of inherits the land. Okay, the vine dressers and the farmers were told. So a little interesting there how the mighty are taken down and the lowly are lifted up. Um, but tie this in with the New Testament. So that the kingdom is gone. Okay, God's great kingdom gone, laid to waste. A very head scratching kind of process, because again through David there's going to be this everlasting dynasty. Okay, and then the people must be wondering, well, where is it? All right, it's gone now, and that's going to be the problem also in the New Testament, because people who are opposed to Jesus are opposed to him because they expect this kingdom that we read about in First and Second Samuel, First and Second Kings. They expect this kingdom to be restored in the way that it used to be. Okay, and that's not going to be good enough. Why? Well, because they're going to eventually fall back into their old habits. Okay, if this was what they expected God to do, then it's just a repeat of what's been going on throughout these whole books. So especially in Judah, you have a good king and then a bad king and then a good king, bad king, and God's not interested in just repeating this process. Okay, so you're going to hear in the prophets, especially in Isaiah, at the end of Isaiah, you're going to hear about the Messiah also being this suffering servant. This Messiah who's going to be one without sin, one who's going to be totally faithful to the will of God. You're going to have this servant who's going to take upon the sins of the whole nation, and he's going to be the redemptive way, his sacrifice. Okay? The suffering servant who's going to take on the sins of many in a pure and holy way. This is how the kingdom is going to be restored. And it's going to be restored in a much different way. the law is going to be written on the hearts of the people. Okay, it's not going to be on stone tablets, but it's going to be people whose hearts are totally committed to the law of God, and that's going to be the new law. So when Jesus, quote unquote, restores the kingdom, he restores it in a whole new different way. It's not a military conquest. It's one who is faithful to the will of God, and one who brings in disciples to also be committed to God's will. And this is what's going to constitute God's kingdom. It's going to be a kingdom without boundaries. It's going to be a kingdom, again, whose hearts are united with that of God the Father. And so, actually, and very fitting, tomorrow with the solemnity of Peter and Paul, maybe something to even look even more into and more in depth, especially in the life of St. Paul, who's going to connect all these promises of God and tell us how they're all united into the person of Jesus Christ. May God bless you.